Welcome, everybody. You are tuned to the Baseline. This is Cal Lee, and of course, I have my right-hand man, NBA aficionado, Dime contributor, and also Yahoo Sports contributor, Mr. Warren Shaw, representing down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And we bring to you the Baseline where we talk about all things NBA. What's going on, my man, Mr. Shaw?
Everything's good, brother. How was your weekend been?
Weekend's been pretty hectic, man, but very productive, very busy. Obviously, we have a few things that we need to discuss, and so we're not going to waste any time. We're just going to go ahead and get right at what's on tap with regards to the NBA. You ready to get us set off?
Yeah, bro. Let's get it.
All right, so a couple of things have happened during the course of this week, important topics to discuss. One of the NBA rookies did not waste any time in putting himself in a precarious position. We'll discuss that a little bit further in the show. We have one of the top highly touted bigs in the game who is on the rise and up and coming, changing his game just a little bit. We'll also discuss that. One of the biggest names in NBA seems to be taking a more political stab at making his mark in greatness. We'll also talk about a new position being acquired for the Philadelphia 76ers. New York Knicks makes another offseason move. We'll also discuss the signing by the Portland Trail Blazers, whether that one is a good or bad. And then we'll also discuss the Miami Heat taking a shot in the dark, bringing back one of the prominent players who fell before his time in Greg Oden. So let's go ahead and get things kick-started. Shaw, I want to talk about this conversation that's been taking place with regards to Shabazz Muhammad, the highly touted draft pick from out of UCLA by the Minnesota Timberwolves. He apparently got excused or recused himself of the rookie transition program earlier this week. Apparently, he violated one of the policies as far as bringing an uninvited guest, and that was against the rules. And they went ahead and excused him, and now he has to show up next year's transition program because he didn't complete the program this year. So, Shaw, let me get your perspective on this. Number one, what does this say more about Shabazz Muhammad and his maturity level? And two, is this going to be a detriment for him going into the NBA season, given the marks that he already had against him, which probably hurt his draft stock earlier this year?
Well, it's obviously not a good start for Shabazz. Questions about his character and his will to succeed. And he didn't have the greatest, freshman season over there at UCLA as either. So, and then he goes into this transition program and gets caught, bringing a girl into the room. And again, it gets kicked out. So it's not a good start for him. The one good thing, and this is going to sound bad in some ways, is that he's going to a city in Minnesota where there's not a lot going on, in terms of nightlife and those types of things. So hopefully he can try to just focus on basketball and becoming a productive NBA player. But yeah, again, this is not how you want to start your rookie campaign. Kind of shades of Michael Beasley when he got kicked out a few years ago as well.
So and the thing to me that I think really becomes a mark on him is the fact that this is what NBA scouts, general managers were looking at with regards to Shabazz Muhammad. It's not that he doesn't have the potential to be a good, maybe a productive NBA player. It's can he stay focused at the task at hand. Now, if you look at the Minnesota Timberwolves are a team that have a couple of good core pieces. You've got Kevin Love, you've got Petrovic. I mean, these guys are really, really, really primed to make a push in kind of a topsy-turvy Western Conference, very similar to the Eastern Conference, where some of the older teams now I think are going to start falling down to earth. You're not going to talk about the Denver Nuggets in the same echelon as being a team that's going to be as dangerous as, say, maybe a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is another opportunity for the Minnesota Timberwolves to put themselves in position to win basketball games, and they need a bench. I think that's what hurt them. Whenever their star players go down, they don't have anybody to step up. And if you're going to draft a guy in the first round like Shabazz Muhammad, who's supposed to come in and be productive, I think the least that you can do is show a little bit of maturity in your part, even in the simplest things like passing a rookie transition program.
Yeah, I mean, again, they obviously have some issues they're going to have to kind of iron out with him, going into the season. But hopefully he gets around, some of the veteran guys and, like the Kevin Loves of the world, and he can definitely, show him the way, what it means to be a rookie and be a productive person in the NBA. So, this is one of those things you just kind of hope it, we can brush it off. We can not necessarily laugh about it later on, but you just say, oh, remember when Shabazz Muhammad did this, and now look where he's at now. So I mean, you just hope he kind of grows from this lesson, and from this experience rather, and then he takes the lessons that need to be learned from it.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to keep our eye out and see how this will progressively play out his first season as an NBA rookie with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So keeping things moving along, Shaw, the Philadelphia 76ers have offered a position for Spurs assistant Brett Brown to be the head coach of the 76ers. Now, word is that this is probably expected to be finalized in the next couple of days. And with Doug Collins basically leaving a year left on his contract offer, a lot was speculated about what direction the Philadelphia 76ers were going to take because of the timing that it took for them to actually come up with possible head coaches that they were looking at, and then more importantly, the timing because of what happened in the draft. So, Shaw, they're going obviously in a completely new direction. They're not trying to go getting a veteran head coach like they did with getting Doug Collins. What does this say about the Philadelphia 76ers, and is this considered a smart hire?
Well, I mean, if and when it does happen, I think it just continues the trend of, the NBA giving first time coaches the chance, and this is no different. Obviously, he has a championship pedigree in terms, being behind Popovich, and that seems to be a trend as well. It's like, if you're a first time coach, you better have been on somebody's bench who was, a legend, if you will. And, the Spurs, I guess they'll be turning out their second assistant to become an NBA head coach this season. So that says a lot about their organization. And for Philly, it's about time. I mean, we're what, a month and a half away from training camp, and just now getting a coach. Free agency is pretty much done. And obviously the draft has already happened as well. So this is just it just needed to happen, and hopefully again this also probably signifies that the 76ers are definitely in a rebuilding phase, with the rookie coach. So lots to happen in Philly yet, but we'll see what happens with this guy Brett Brown and how he coaches Noel and some of the other younger guys there.
Do you think that the window for Brett Brown will be open as far as what if the Philadelphia 76ers over the next 2 years become the worst team in the NBA, clearly because they're a young team and they don't have any kind of veteran talent there to kind of really keep these young guys together when they're going to go through some really, really, really bad losing streaks, which is what's going to be expected. Also, you take into consideration that their top draft pick is probably not expected to start playing in December. I mean, how much of this are we looking at as saying we're going to give him an opportunity, or we're basically going to pull the plug on him like they did, say, Byron Scott in Cleveland?
Well, I think a lot of that will be determined by the length of the contract he initially signed. So, once we get that finalized, we'll kind of know, if you look at the Celtics situation where they signed Stevens, I think 5 or maybe even 6 years, they know he's in there for the long haul. So if Brown gets a contract, in the 2-year range, then they're kind of like, all right, well, you got this much time, and then you may be out of there. But if they give him something 4+, then that he's definitely the guy that they're looking to try to rebuild with.
Most definitely. So we'll have to keep our eye on that, and hopefully Brett Brown will show instant success for the Philadelphia 76ers, who definitely have a long road ahead of them as far as being able to contend in the Atlantic Division. You're tuned to The Baseline. Cal Lee, Warren Shaw, giving you the hot button topics of the NBA. Be sure to get at our Twitter handles at CLMecca75 or at Shawsports, hashtag The Baseline. So keeping things moving along, Shaw, important news I felt, and I'm sure you feel in the same way, with regards to everything that's transpired with the collective bargaining agreement that took place, less than a couple of years ago, with all of the controversy with regards to Derek Fisher and with regards to our boy, good old Billy. Now we're looking at another transition here, and the talk is that LeBron James is basically really putting himself in consideration to be the president of the NBA Players Association. And so I want to know from your end, Shaw, how big a step is this for not only LeBron James, but also for the NBA players? Because it has really been quite some time where we've had someone represent the NBA players, not just from a business perspective, because Derek Fisher was more than adequate, but he didn't have the star power. And now you have someone like LeBron James stepping in, and he has that star power. He now is looking to be the president for the NBA players. What will that do for them?
I think again it gives the players a big leg up in negotiations. Whatever may come up next. I don't think since the days of maybe when Patrick Ewing has a star player really been the union president, if you will. So LeBron being the best player in the game, and again, it's not just a figurehead, because he knows his stuff. He's extremely intelligent. He follows the issues. He was at many of the meetings, over the summer, and especially when they had the lockout, he was there. He made his presence felt, and that's what people want. They want to see their best players and the guys who can stand up and fight for the little guys. So when a guy like LeBron James, obviously the best player, like I said earlier, an all-star and potentially future Hall of Famer, is willing to take on this type of leadership role, it says a lot about him. It says a lot about where the league is going, a lot about the union itself, and then also the league is not going to be able to just kind of push them around, I think, in the next round of negotiations.
Yeah, when you look at the transition of where the NBA is going, and especially you take into consideration I'm about to say Howard Stern, but David Stern stepping down, and now with Silver now taking the helm, this may also be a great opportunity for the NBA players to start thinking about their strategy moving forward to this collective bargaining agreement. Let's remember, this agreement that the NBA players agreed to was not what they truly wanted. But given the circumstances and given the fact that a season would have been lost, money would have been lost, jobs would have certainly been affected by everything that would have taken place, and the fan factor of people's appreciation for NBA would have been affected, I think that the NBA players had to take this deal that was given to them. It was somewhat of a last minute. Now you have someone who obviously understands the circumstances, probably understands the timeline, and understands the owners a heck of a lot better when you've got guys like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade. These are guys that are still high-end figures that could basically tip the scales. And so I completely agree with you. If LeBron James does take this position, I think it is a definite win-win situation for the players. And given the timing of the fact that they are transitioning out a new commissioner, I think it will definitely benefit the players, because now they can come in with a fresh slate and basically can come to the table with a lot more than just the idea that they're just great players in the game.
Yeah, again, 100% correct. I think you kind of summed it up right there. Again, there's not enough can be said about having, top leadership, if you will, being, also continuing to be the best player in the game. So, again, I think the players, like you said, it's going to be a very, very big win for them, and hopefully, LeBron does take this on. He doesn't back out of it. Again, not that he should receive any criticism if he does, but I think it'd be a great step for him, and definitely a notch in his legacy, on the mark of basketball.
Well, listen, if LeBron James can do jury duty, I'm sure he can hold it down for his players in the NBA.
No
You're
doubt.
tuned to The Baseline. Callie, Warren Shaw, and we're talking about the good stuff that we always love talking about with the NBA. Make sure that you get at our podcast. We are on iTunes. We're also on iPatio. You can catch us on Mixcloud, but nevertheless, you can always catch us on Twitter. So make sure that you tweet us with your comments, thoughts. We always love the feedback. And every time that we talk about NBA, baby, you know what I'm saying? It's worldwide. We make sure that it transcends all countries and around the world. So interesting signing now by the New York Knicks. Look, the New York Knicks has always been an internationally sound and festive basketball team in recent years. So you got Pablo Prigioni, and now they've got Andre Bargnani. And now this time they decide to go ahead and sign a backup point guard in Bino Udrih, one-year deal. Shaw, your perspective on this. Do you think that this is a good signing by the New York Knicks, or is this basically, I'm just basically picking what's ever left in the barrel?
No, I think it's a great signing, especially from a minimum contract standpoint. Udrih is a guy who's very productive when given minutes. So, he's going to be backing up Felton, and I guess he and Prigioni would be kind of backing up to kind of see who's going to get that second and third point guard role. But, you can never have too many point guards. And then you have three solid ones, with Felton, Prigioni, and Udrih now in New York. So I think it's a great move, especially veteran minimum. They couldn't do any better than that.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that Bino Udrih is a great signing. One of the things that I appreciate more about this is that the Knicks are looking at what the Knicks had with Raymond Felton and what they didn't have with Raymond Felton, because the last thing that you need to get is another guard that plays his game similar to that of Raymond Felton. Raymond Felton is a great dribble drive penetrator, but he's not consistent with his shot. And I think that that is something that the Knicks sorely lacked, especially in the playoffs, is if you got a guard penetrating the defense of the opposing team, he's got to make the shot. And if not, he kicks it out to the guy that will make the shot. And I think Bino Udrih has proven in the NBA time and time again that while he is not the quote-unquote best of the best when you talk about NBA point guards, he is adequate when it comes to shooting the J. He may not be able to dribble drive like Raymond Felton does, but he will hit the J with a lot more consistency. And sometimes, especially when you look at Woodson's style of play, he can change it at the drop of a dime, which could basically play into Bino Udrih's hands. If Raymond Felton just doesn't have it that night, expect Bino Udrih to come in and play some solid minutes, and then you can also move him to the 2, like we were also alluding to before. So I think it was a great signing overall by the New York Knicks.
Yeah, 100%. You know, definitely he's a guy who can come off that screen, that pick and roll, and be a threat to shoot. Again, he doesn't have the same, driving ability as Felton, but he's a he's a smart passer. I wouldn't say he's a great passer, but he's smart. He knows the angles, and again, most importantly, he can hit the jumper. So yeah, I think it's a great move for them. Remember, Prigioni isn't a great shooter; he's a reluctant shooter. So I think getting that change of pace, as you mentioned, is going to be great for the Knicks going forward.
Most definitely. You're tuned to The Baseline, Cal Lee Warren Shaw, and we're talking about the NBA. Another important signing that took place not too long ago, Greg Oden. Yes, the old man has definitely put himself back in the NBA. He says he's ready to go, and the Miami Heat wasted no time in trying to sign him. Now, I'm sure that most people are looking at this signing and saying this is a good situation. It's a win-win. It's kind of like the Andrew Bynum signing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. You really can't lose with this signing. But here's where I feel like, and so I kind of look at this as being our full court press topic for the evening. Here's where I have a problem with this signing. It's not the fact that I don't think that Greg Oden should not be playing in the NBA, because I definitely think that he does, especially if he feels that he's ready. But the fact that he's being signed by the Miami Heat, I kind of have a problem with this. Because when you look at Greg Oden's game is not one to be an up-tempo type of game. The Miami Heat like to play an up-tempo type of offense. And while I love Eric Spoelstra and what he did with his team this past season, I don't know what he's going to do with a guy like Greg Oden. And you've seen how he's used his bigs previously before. I mean, he uses them sparingly. He doesn't use them like as a true big. And there's no offense that Eric Spoelstra has developed thus far that is really profiling the use of a big in his system. So how does this help a guy like Greg Oden?
Well, it doesn't help him from an offensive standpoint. I think it just helps him from a developmental standpoint, where he doesn't have the same pressure that he'd have going elsewhere. I think the Pelicans were a finalist. I don't know how serious he was about Sacramento or some of those other places, but in New Orleans, he would have had to play heavy minutes. They would have been relying on him to play, 25, 30 minutes a night. I think in Miami, he can play 15 minutes, and even if he does start, he can start at the beginning of the first and beginning of the third, and maybe some slot minutes in the fourth. So the pressure situation is where he went there. They don't need him to win. They've won 2 championships without him. So that's where it really boils down to. And he's there to try to help rebound, and obviously block shots on the defensive end. So offensively, yeah, no doubt about it, he's going to be left behind, kind of like when Joel Anthony was out there running around for them a little bit as well. But I think defensively is where they're looking for him to make his biggest contribution.
See, for me, I completely agree with you in that perspective. If the intent is, and what we're looking at is by saying he's only going to probably get maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes. But the problem that I have with this is, if you are someone like Greg Oden, your game is better than someone just being out there for maybe 15 minutes. He's going to probably require some form of minutes. The one thing that I think is different about Greg Oden than, say, the situation with Brandon Roy is the fact that with Brandon Roy, you knew that Brandon Roy is trying to play at a level that required him to command the type of minutes that he needed, and we all knew that he wasn't capable of doing that. I mean, he tried, but it just wasn't happening. With Greg Oden, he is a big, and as far as being a big concerned, you want to be on that basketball court. With someone like Eric Spoelstra coaching you, I feel sometimes that Eric Spoelstra will stifle the production of what his bigs can give him for the sake of saying, I want to make sure that Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James get off like how they normally do, and I just don't know how that becomes helpful. A guy like Dexter Pittman was playing on that team, much bigger than Greg Oden, and was much healthier. And look at where he is. He's basically back to playing, in the D League. I'm not saying that he would have been a starter, but I'm saying that it's just clear to me that in the Miami Heat offense, you truly don't need a 7-foot center. You could live with a 6'10" Chris Anderson doing the dirty work. a Udonis Haslem doing the dirty work. So that's the reason why I'm just concerned that by the Heat signing Greg Oden, we're still not going to see Greg Oden.
Well, I mean, I think you have some valid points there, but I think the other flip side of it, which I should have mentioned the last time I was speaking about it, is he's going to a situation where he's going to get easier baskets. Who can create better for him than LeBron James and Dwayne Wade? So those struggles he would ordinarily have offensively, where they just throw him the ball in the post and he's supposed to try to make a post move or do a jump hook or whatever the case would be. That's not going to be the same thing for him. LeBron and Wade are going to be able to set him up better than almost anybody else in the NBA, with the exception of maybe Chris Paul. So I think that's why Miami, they went ahead and made this move. Again, it doesn't cost them anything. They have a second-year team option. So if it doesn't work out, then he's gone. And again, it costs them nothing. So I think it's a good move from Miami. I understand some hesitation with it, but like I said, if at $1.2 million or whatever it is, they couldn't do anything better than what they've done.
I completely agree with you. It is a great move for Miami. It's a win situation for Miami. I guess I'm stuck on the player itself in Greg Oden. And like I said, I would love to see Greg Oden show his game. And I don't think he even had that opportunity to do that when he was playing with the Portland Trail Blazers, even when he was healthy. So to me, I think it does come down to the system that you're playing in sometimes, because ultimately, and I'm not saying you're trying to feature Greg Oden. I'm just saying that Eric Spoelstra just has this uncanny knack of stifling his bigs from playing the kind of game that they really could be playing. It's why we argue about Chris Bosh all the time anyway, because of what he used to be and what he is right now.
No, I mean, I get you, but I think it's a decision that came from Oden as well, and his confidence level. So for him to go ahead because he could have gotten more money from New Orleans, he could have gotten more money elsewhere, but he was like, listen, I'm gonna take the veteran minimum, agree to this deal, try to improve myself, show my game, and get my body right. I mean, he just came out, I think, this weekend, said, he has an old man's body. He realizes that he's not where he needs to be. So even though he's been off for 2 years, he's still trying to find his game. And there's no better way than trying to go and develop yourself, with Miami, and playing along the best players in the game and potentially winning a ring or two while you're at it. So, I can't knock him for that. I definitely wishing him the best.
Most definitely. You're tuned to the Baseline Full Court Press, talking NBA playoff basketball. I'm sorry, I said playoff basketball. I just want to get to the heart of it right away. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking NBA basketball, all things NBA. Be sure to get at us at CLMecca75 at Shawsports, hashtag the Baseline. So, Mr. Shaw, interesting development here out, and we were talking a little bit before about the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson has been a slowly developing, budding big in the NBA. And now it seems like in this offseason he's added a little bit more to his repertoire. So far in the, I believe it's during not the Summer League, but in the World Summer League, that he has now changed his game pattern. If people remember Tristan Thompson's game, it was catered because he's a southpaw. He shoots from the left. Well, he has now diligently worked in the offseason to now dominantly try and play from the right. So now expect to see Tristan Thompson, Cavalier, center, big, who used to shoot with the left, now try and dominate guys from the right. What do you think about the transition that some of these NBA players are making from going for what seems to be the offhand and up to ultimately is the hand that really you get an advantage if you're shooting the basketball, to now moving to the conventional right-handed side? What's this ambidextrous style that we're seeing from Tristan Thompson, sir?
Sir, I really wish I knew. I had no idea what the reasoning and behind it is. Like I said, again, I think, being a big man, being a left-handed big man probably gave him a little bit of an advantage, being a little bit awkward out there, and the angles that he'd attack from. So, I'm not quite understanding why he's trying to change his shooting style. I think he's, 23 years old or whatever. Like, at this point in the game, what are you doing? But if it works out for him, awesome. But I'd love to hear what his coaches have to say about this and the reason behind it, because I don't think I quite understand just yet.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, because I would think that if you're unless you're Grant Hill and you're averaging 25 and 6 and 4, and you just say, oh, you know what, I think I'm just going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to start moving to the right hand instead of my left hand and stuff like that. And I get that, but maybe there is a distinct advantage. Maybe there's something that they see. I'm not quite sure, but I mean, he's there, but he ain't quite there yet to start changing up your game. Like, I just hope it doesn't mess him up. So that everything that he worked so hard for from the left-hand side now is smacking him on the right-hand side.
No, you're right. I mean, he had his best season ever, and so now after that, you're going to go ahead and change things and try something completely different. In a season where the Cavs are supposed to be contending for a playoffs position, I have no idea what that's about. Like, again, I'd love to hear Mike Brown and what he has to think about this. But hey, like I said, I wish him luck, and if it works out for him, then hey, all the best.
Yeah, we don't want to put too much pressure on Mr. Mike Brown at all, because God knows he's got enough already on his plate. It's just, he's coming back. You know what I'm saying, to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It'll be very interesting to see how well this team plays, because, like you said, Shaw, they're definitely going to be under the radar with high expectations to possibly make this playoff spot, take that playoff spot that I think is wide open. I think 6, 7, and 8, and I'm sure we'll get into this later on as we do further shows, but 6, 7, and 8, boy, is wide open this year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I wrote about it a few weeks ago, and I think with Atlanta, Milwaukee, and Boston being 3 teams that are potentially dropping out of the playoff scene, that leaves exactly that 6, 7, and 8 spot definitely wide open. And I'm looking for Cleveland, Washington, and Detroit, to try to take those positions, with Boston and Atlanta potentially pushing as well. But yeah, 6, 7, 8 is going to be should be a hell of a battle going into the end of the season next year.
Most definitely. You're tuned to The Baseline. Callie, Warren, Shaw, talking about the hot button topics of the NBA. Make sure you get at us on iTunes. Make sure that you look for us on YouTube, Shaw. This is what we do now. We video casting, bro. We live on camera. We saying hi to the fans out there. They now can put a face to the voice. What about that? You know what I'm saying? I mean, are we going Hollywood or what?
Well, that's good for you, man. I'm trying to keep my ugly bugger, away from the scene. And put my words to paper, and that's how I like it. But we got to progress, man. This is a good look for everybody. So welcome to everybody. This is The Baseline. Shawsports, CLMecca75, man. We're trying to do something a little different for you this year.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get you some sunglasses, bro. Because your influence is just shining so brightly right now.
Man, let me fall back. Fall back, bro. Fall back.
Yeah. Most definitely. So before we end tonight's show, Shaw, I know that we always talk about D12. We did that when we talked about the NBA schedule, the NBA previews, and stuff like that just about a week ago. But you brought up a pretty interesting situation that took place with our boy, Mr. Dwight Howard. We didn't have an opportunity to talk about it because you knew we were going to bring it up on The Baseline.
Yeah.
So go ahead and let people know what's really good with Mr. Dwight Howard. I mean, it just seems like this boy cannot stop coming off a camera ever since he got signed by the Houston Rockets.
Well, Dwight's a good guy, man, at heart. He really he wants to be loved. He wants to be liked, and he took to Twitter, and people who follow Dwight, who knows, he'll actually follow some of his fans back. So I mean, he'll follow the average person back just so that they get that thrill. So he was on Twitter a few days ago and just was kind of answering people, and guys were tweeting him, hey, I wish Dwight Howard would say hey to me. He just tweet him back, hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on? Kind of back and forth. And that went on for maybe 20 or so tweets, and then I believe the tweeter's name is You Hate Bree, and tweeted him something that you're never getting a ring or something like that. And then Dwight Howard told her in return, you ain't never getting a ring with that face.
No.
It's outstanding. Again, I'm not gonna judge the lady's beauty and her aesthetics or whatever the case may be, but it was one of those zings, if you will. You know what I mean? So I think that was, I don't know. A lot of people didn't like it and said he shouldn't have done that and X, Y, and Z. But if you see the stuff
no, gas face.
Yeah, you see the stuff these NBA players do.
You get the gas face. That's what we call gas face right there. You got clowned on. That is the perfect definition of the gas face.
Yeah, man, she came at him like she got chopped. So I mean, again, like I said, no offense, you hate Bree, but come on, son, you went after dude a little bit, so he's got to defend himself. So like I said, it wasn't anything malicious. He didn't curse at her or anything like that. Just poking some fun, as the NBA players get poked at a lot as well. So I mean, hey, I know there's going to be some varying opinions on this, but hey, like I said, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought it was kind of funny.
Listen, and again, she did this not just because, listen, if Dwight Howard didn't come back and say something, she would be the talk of Twitter. I mean, everybody would be running up to her, be like, "Ooh, did you got it, D12," and all that good stuff. So just as quickly as we can praise her, we can also clown her when a player like Dwight Howard is clever enough to come with the comeback line like that. You know what I'm saying? Awesome. So, and listen, I'm not trying to say I'm a Dwight hater. I'm just not a fan of Dwight Howard right now, and I'm just not a fan. I'm not completely sold on Dwight Howard, but I will give a man his props. I'll give him his respect. When you come out, and especially when you are still trying to be entertaining to the fans, and I'll take nothing away from that. I just like the fact that Dwight Howard stood his ground, but he did it respectfully. He didn't do it in a manner that is demoralizing, demeaning. He's not, berating her or nothing like that. He's just coming cleverness for cleverness. You know what I'm saying? And I respect that a lot about Dwight Howard, but dang, that was just as funny as hell. No question, gas face of the week. No question.
It was the best. It was the best Dwight Howard, I think, moment in a long time, at least for me, like I said, because again, it was just so funny. I literally laughed out loud and at least out of my chair when I saw it. So yeah, big ups to D12 for that one.
All right, most definitely. So, Shaw, what a nice, very compact, short and to the sweet, to the point show that we got on. First episode, webcasted, videocasted of the Baseline. Definitely a lot of great topics that we discussed. And, of course, they're just leading us closer and closer and closer to that NBA season, which is going to start in the next couple of months. I mean, before we blink our eye, bro, we're going to already be discussing about which teams we're looking at as possibly taking the divisions.
I mean, I can't wait for it, bro. I really can't wait. I've definitely I've been keeping busy in the meantime, trying to give the people some different stories and some different looks and things. But our bread and butter is definitely the NBA season, so I definitely can't wait for that to get back up.
Most definitely. So, for the Baseline, Mr. Warren Shaw, Dime Mag contributor, Yahoo Sports contributor. Be sure to check out his stories, his articles. He does it on the regular, and he does it well. Also, check out some upcoming possible articles on Dime Magazine. I mean, my man's he's going global. So you got to be sure to check him out when he's dropping the dimes. People need to listen.
Yeah, man. Let me give a quick plug. I got an article on Michael Beasley coming out this week. Also did an interview with Brandon Knight from the now Milwaukee Bucks earlier in the week. Should be posting that soon. And also I got a chance to speak to Al Horford from the Atlanta Hawks and kind of what his role is going to be on the Hawks as the last man standing. So some really great stuff. Some kind of the keep you warm pieces, if you will, until the NBA season starts. And definitely then when the regular season hits back up, me and CLMecca75 will have everything covered for you.
Most definitely, and make sure you stay tuned on my side. Definitely going to keep you in tune on the Twitter handle, on the Twitter feeds. We're going to definitely keep plugging away. The Baseline is back on track. We were on our hiatus, but now we all good in the woods, and so we're going to be bringing it to you live. Be sure to tune at us. We'll be sure to be plugging it to you every day, all day. This is how we do. The Baseline, Warren Shaw, Cal Lee. Be sure to tune with us and also check out the Full Court Press where we discuss and debate about the hot button topics in the NBA. We go at it one-on-one. We got so much going on ready for the NBA season. We can't wait to share it with you. So for the Baseline, Mr. Warren Shaw, Cal Lee, you guys have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon.